Okay, this is going to be video 2 today, and it actually has to do with responsible journalism and responsible questions and responsible blogging, which I spoke about on the first video. This is an update on the Dewboy Lister case, who was shot and killed a few days ago in Corpus Christi. I just added the links, which you'll see tonight, and I took out sections. All I'm reading on this is the local media reports. Something important today has changed, and it's important for investigative journalists to try to verify what changed. The latest statement from Chief Marshall: this might all be correct, and it is not my intent to disparage anybody in this incident. But what changed was Chief Marshall has now said, this is the most recent I read on the news. Chief Marshall said that the officer was in the process of impounding Mr. Lister's vehicle, and that during that process, Mr. Lister left. Why is this very important? Because this is a change in the official story. The official first story, I added the links, was the officer stopped Mr. Lister because of either the light on his license plate was out, or he was driving in the middle of a lane or something. And then it said the cop simply asked Lister if he would sit in the back of the police vehicle while the officer searched Lister's vehicle. Lister has every right, without a warrant, to say, no, you cannot search my vehicle. And nor was he told that he was being put under arrest. You know, if you have an officer stop you and you're not under arrest, he has a certain time limit that he can ask you a question or everything. And then you have the right as a citizen to ask, am I being detained? Because they can't just hold you for an undisclosed amount of time unless there's some type of criminal activity. So the first story from the CCPD and from the articles was that's what happened. And then if he left, the question would be, was the pursuit to the point where it led to the shooting, was that required? The story has changed. Now, I'm not saying that Chief Marshall's lying, but I think the news media should question that it's now changed. Because it's now gone to the officer just asked Mr. Lister to sit in the back of the cop car, to the officer was in the process of impounding the vehicle. You see it? And it's strange to me that people have gotten stopped, I have gotten stopped with the expired, my paper showed the insurance was expired, but it wasn't expired. I always have insurance, but sometimes I don't put the new one in my wallet. And the cops they don't just go by the paper anymore. They verify it, whether you have insurance or not. And it would just seem strange that they were going to impound Mr. Lister's vehicle because of that. If all of that is so, according to what the chief said, then we would just want to know the call that officer made in. It would basically say he's impounding it, and then you call for a tow truck. Over the years at the firehouse, whenever we had a wreck or something, you have a tow truck that's on, at Kingsville did it, tow truck's on standby, and if something happens for that month, that particular private company had the contract. It was a rotating contract. So there would be enough evidence to simply show that the officer made a call to the dispatch and said, I'm going to impound the vehicle. But I don't like the change of story, because to the average public, maybe, but that's a change, and it's a significant change, because then it puts the officer more like Mr. Lister was fleeing, sort of like an arrest, though it wasn't arrest, but he was leaving in a vehicle that the cop was in the process of impounding. That changed. I'm not saying it's a lie, but that's the first I saw that. So this will be the update on Lister.